Gentlemen, boys and girls, it's good to see you. Have a look at this. This tiny, tiny, tiny little piccolo. It's quite pretty actually. $3.80. That's how much that costs in Sydney, as most people know. A lot of people confuse depression with being very sad or having a bad day, and they're not the same. Depression is a feeling of grief and a horror, and you absolutely think that the only way out is dying. Those who are predisposed to depression is slightly different. Now, anxiety is when the fight or flight response activates and you get this massive rush of adrenaline, but you don't know why you're having this massive fear. Those two things are different to when something happens that makes you either sad or anxious. So for example, let's say that God forbid, or heaven forbid, whatever it is you believe in, that someone in your family passes away. You would be very, very, very sad. But there's a reason for that sadness. That's different to depression. Depression kicks in, your life could be absolutely perfect, but you will absolutely feel like someone died and your body shuts down. You don't want to do anything. You really want to die. And if you are predisposed to that, it will happen in waves. Anxiety also happens in waves. And you can also have a bad day. Now, once in a while, all of those three happen at once. And that was my day today. Now, I did a scope on this when it happened last time, about 14, 15 months ago. If any of the original followers remember, it was called MOAngst, or Mother of All Anxiety Attacks. It was about a year and a half ago, maybe. Some people might say, why are you depressed for? Everything's going well for you. That just means that people have not had explained to them what depression is. So when the things line up, it becomes worse. So sometimes you can have a reason to be sad and you also suffer from depression. That's a disaster for someone like that. With many, many years of therapy, I've learned to control it to an unbelievable degree. When I was much younger, and anyone else who's clinically diagnosed with clinical depression, you can't leave the house. Sometimes you can't shower, go to the bathroom, you don't eat, you sit in a corner, you can't have lights. That's how it used to be for me many, many, many years ago, back in my early 20s, so probably 13 years ago. It takes a huge amount of mental effort to push that field of death away from you with a torchlight, with a hugely powerful torchlight. And you become quite good at it, but it still comes to you once in a while. And you have to remember that it will pass. Now, in my case, part of my bad luck today was the fact that my autism means that I struggle very much with timetables. If it says I'm supposed to be somewhere at a certain time and I'm not there, I get extremely anxious. And it's not me getting anxious, it's my autistic brain that responds to the fact that there's a discrepancy. And that's normal for someone with autism. Now, on top of that, I was also having an anxiety issue and a depression issue all at the same time. And it made it terrible. So, but you learn to deal with it, and you know that it shall pass. So you separate the feeling from what's going on around you. And I tell myself, listen, this is the autistic part of my brain responding. That's just a normal chemical reaction. Accept that it's happening and don't get scared of the fact that it's happening. You face it head on. And so when I got here just now, I had another break now. And it's supposed to be 40 minutes, but I only had 15 minutes because I lost all of my time on the timetable. I went up to the bus marshal and I said, look, I need to take my break, so I'm going to be resuming 15 minutes later. And he didn't even blink. He's like, yep, okay. So clearly, it turns out all the other buses are running late as well. But in my brain doesn't think about that, right? It's like I have to be there at this time. It says 10:30, North Sydney, 10:31, I lose my mind. So those things happen. So I'm here to just remind people that if you do suffer from depression, it's not the end of the world. Yes, every couple of days you will feel like life is not worth living. That will happen every couple of days, sometimes every day, sometimes for 3 or 4 days in a row. That will happen, but you can over time learn to structure your life in such a way that you minimize it down to almost nothing. So my attacks of depression only come once every couple of months, but I live my life in a way to avoid unnecessary interventions of depression. So you learn to work with it chemically, psychologically, do Wednesday wisdoms, make yourself a better person, better than yourself. You don't run the narrative in your head that you have to compare yourself to other people. Also a little bit of a Barocca, 10:39, so time for me to go. All right, let's see the chats. How could it all happen 3 at once? Because they work on independent cycles. And when all of the cycles align at once, you get a massive amplitude increase. If you think of them all as waves, when you combine the waves, it's called superpositioning. You combine the waves, they get really, really big. And you learn to accept that it comes, but you don't let it rule you. it's like a pain. Like, you know, if you get a mosquito bite and there's a sting, the sting stays there, but you don't let your world end because of that. You say, all right, the sting is there. Okay, yes, it's annoying. I need to get on with my life. It shall pass. Exactly. Do you have OCD thoughts? Yes, for most of, probably since I was about 3 or 4 years old. Always living because death in time is guaranteed. Exactly. That's exactly what I said in my last speech. It's like death is coming anyway, so you may as well do what you can. All right, guys, I am going to head back. So hopefully that's a little bit of motivation. You don't have to feel it alone. Oh, it's past. It's now past. So I didn't get on scope before because I needed to focus my energy, Captain Ginger, on dealing with that and looking after my passengers and driving safely and all of that. Coming onto Periscope actually drains my energy because I'm naturally introverted. So I had to build up energy in order to come out and expend it to share that stuff with you. But sharing things with everybody actually in the long term gives life more meaning as well. And so that extra meaning offsets a lot of the depression. I get random people come up and shake my hand because I make just really stupid jokes as I'm driving the whole way, as Michael Out can imagine. Like, for example, next stop is this set of traffic lights. Classic dad jokes, exactly. I am the dad joke bus driver. That's right. I tell you the funniest thing, right? So I stop at the stop and I say, all to Chatswood, all to Chatswood, all to Chatswood, all to Chatswood. And then someone comes on and goes, do you go to Wynyard? Which is the opposite direction. And I'm saying all to I say it like maybe 25 times and you'll still get someone,